YouTube video titled Dinar and Dong Revaluation Confirmed. Trump's powerful July 31st statement. Iraqi Dinar News Today, with an intro for your channel IRV News. Welcome back to IRV News, your #1 channel for the latest updates, deep insights, and breaking developments surrounding the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and the global currency revaluation movement. If you've been following the RV journey, today's episode is one you absolutely cannot miss. Major developments have just come to light following a powerful and somewhat unexpected statement by former President Donald Trump on July 31st, one that has sent shockwaves through the Dinar and Dong community. Whether you're a seasoned currency holder or just beginning to explore the revaluation world, what we cover today could be the most significant news yet in 2025. So sit back, take notes, and stay with us to the end because the dots we connect today might just confirm what so many of us have long anticipated. The long-awaited revaluation may already be in motion. On July 31st, 2025, during a high-stakes press conference held in New Jersey, former President Trump made a bold statement that caught the attention of not only the political world but also the global financial community. In his own words, he said, "It's time we restore global financial fairness. America must lead the return to sound money, to real value, and to economic systems that no longer enslave nations through devaluation and debt. Change is coming and it's closer than you think." Now, that statement in isolation could be interpreted in many ways, but for those of us closely monitoring the RV, this was not just political rhetoric. This was a signal, perhaps the clearest one yet, that Trump is once again backing the global currency reset, particularly the revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. Insiders close to the Trump team have hinted for months that the former president has been actively working behind the scenes with international finance leaders, quietly preparing the groundwork for a monetary shift that would realign wealth and value across borders. While mainstream media has remained largely silent on the topic, alternative finance circles, RV groups, and foreign currency investors have been buzzing. Trump's July 31st statement aligns perfectly with multiple sources who have claimed that July and August would be pivotal months in this journey. And here we are, right at that critical juncture. Let's explore what this could mean for holders of the Iraqi Dinar. Over the past decade, the IQD has been one of the most controversial and analyzed currencies in the world. Despite Iraq being one of the wealthiest nations in terms of oil reserves, its currency has remained artificially suppressed, largely a result of decades of war, sanctions, and geopolitical manipulation. However, recent reforms in Iraq have positioned the country on a new trajectory. Under Prime Minister Al-Sudani's leadership, Iraq has moved aggressively to stabilize its economy, repatriate stolen funds, reduce its dependency on the dollar, and reclaim full sovereignty over its monetary policy. In fact, just last week, Iraq's central bank announced that it had completed a successful pilot of a digital dinar infrastructure, another step in modernizing their financial system in preparation for global integration. When combined with new bilateral trade agreements with China, Russia, and regional neighbors, the stage is now set for Iraq to transition from a dependent post-war economy into a powerful Middle Eastern financial hub. According to several analysts, a revaluation of the dinar is no longer a matter of if, but when, and Trump's recent remarks may have provided the missing clue. Let's not forget that during Trump's first term, there were persistent rumors that he was exploring strategies to eliminate America's dependence on fiat debt instruments, including the Federal Reserve's control over monetary issuance. He has long admired the gold-backed economies of the past and has spoken openly about restoring sound money principles. So when he talks about real value and economic fairness, he's not just making campaign promises, he's reviving a vision that many believe includes a return to asset-backed currency systems. This is a huge part of the RV theory. Both the IQD and VND are expected to revalue based on asset-rich national backing, like oil in Iraq and rare earth minerals in Vietnam, rather than artificial debt-based monetary systems. Now let's turn to Vietnam and the Dong. Over the past 3 years, Vietnam has experienced a remarkable transformation. Despite global economic headwinds, Vietnam's GDP has continued to grow. Inflation has remained controlled, and foreign investment is at an all-time high. Multiple trade deals have cemented Vietnam's place in global manufacturing, and it has become a strategic player in Southeast Asia. The Vietnamese central bank has also taken active steps to modernize its financial infrastructure, tighten its currency policy, and reduce volatility. Rumors about a revaluation of the Dong have been circulating for years, but 2025 is different. Several credible sources have indicated that both the IMF and World Bank have greenlit preliminary steps for a realignment of undervalued currencies. Vietnam's the most compelling evidence, however, comes from banking insiders. According to a well-placed source in a Tier 1 U.S. bank, internal memos circulated last weekend discussed preparations for currency reevaluations and updates to global exchange platforms. These memos reportedly listed the IQD and VND as priority. Watch currencies, with the possibility of new international rates going live as early as August. This ties in with Trump's statement and aligns with chatter coming out of redemption centers, especially those being reactivated in Texas, Florida, Nevada, and parts of California. If these centers are preparing for Tier 4B exchanges, then we are closer than ever to the public phase of the RV. Let's also talk briefly about what Trump's influence means on a global stage. Whether you support him or not, there's no denying that Trump's words carry weight. He's a former head of state with ongoing global influence, and his connections with international power brokers are deep and lasting. If he is indeed signaling that the financial system is being reset and that certain currencies are about to regain their true value, then those holding dinar and dong may be on the cusp of a historic financial opportunity. This is not just speculation. Let's remember that Trump has been hinting about a coming financial renaissance since early 2024. In March of that year, he mentioned that the next wave of global leadership would include economic truth-tellers who would end the era of fake money. And in June of 2025, during a campaign event in Ohio, he said, "America will no longer support the suppression of honest currencies. We will work with allies who want fair trade and fair value." When you connect these dots to the July 31st statement, a pattern begins to emerge, one that points directly to a revaluation. Meanwhile, in Iraq, Prime Minister Al-Sudani has been unusually vocal in recent days. In a televised interview on July 29th, he confirmed that Iraq's reserves now exceed $120 billion. Oil production is stable, and inflation is falling. More importantly, he stated, "We are preparing to integrate into the global economic system. With a new degree of strength, our currency must reflect the value of our national assets." That's as close to a public admission of revaluation intent as we've seen from any Iraqi leader. So what does this all mean for the everyday IQD or VND holder? First, stay informed. Continue to watch announcements from central banks, U.S. Treasury insiders, and trusted political figures like Trump. Second, be prepared. If you're holding physical currency, make sure you know where and how to exchange it when the time comes. Redemption procedures may differ based on your location, your bank, and whether you are part of Tier 4B or a public phase rollout. We also need to discuss timing. Many experts believe the revaluation will not be a single, worldwide event that happens in one moment. Instead, it may roll out in phases. Tier 1 sovereigns, Tier 2 institutions, Tier 3 contractors and VIPs, and Tier 4 private groups and individuals may all be processed in sequential waves. According to recent intel, Tier 3 has already begun receiving notifications, and Tier 4B could be next in line. If that's true, and if Trump's statement was the green light, we may be days or even hours away from seeing the first movement of public-facing revaluation rates. Finally, let's talk about the human impact. Millions of people around the world have been holding on to their dinar and dong sometimes for decades, with the hope of one day being financially free. This movement isn't just about currency, it's about justice, restoration, and resetting the balance of global wealth. For too long, fiat currencies and manipulated markets have kept developing, nations suppressed. A fair revaluation could change lives not just in Iraq and Vietnam, but also for investors and families across the globe who believed in this possibility when others laughed or dismissed it. As always, we urge our viewers to stay grounded, do their own research, and trust but verify. The RV community has seen many false starts, and while this moment feels different, it's important to proceed with clarity, caution, and confidence. If everything unfolding from Trump's speech to banking leaks to government indeed pointing toward an imminent revaluation, then you'll want to be ready.